12 years old, sitting cross-legged on her bed in a suburb most people outside South Africa have never heard of. Edenvale, population around 70,000. The kind of place where everybody knows everybody, and nobody expects you to end up on a stage in Los Angeles holding a golden gramophone. But that is exactly what happened to Tyla Laura Seathal. At 12, she was scribbling song lyrics in a diary her mom gave her, singing made-up melodies over YouTube beats in her bedroom. By 22, she had done something no South African solo artist had managed in over half a century. She broke onto the Billboard Hot 100. She won a Grammy. And she did it by refusing to sound like anyone but herself. But between the diary and the Grammy, there was a global pandemic that almost killed her momentum before it started. A canceled tour that left fans confused. A racial identity firestorm that had the entire internet telling her who she was allowed to be, and the crushing pressure of being the first person to carry an entire continent's musical ambitions on her shoulders. This is the story of Tyla, and trust me, you are going to want to hear this one. Tyla was born on January 30th, 2002, in Edenvale, a suburb on the East Rand of Johannesburg. She was the second youngest of 4 kids. Her older sister Whitney, her younger brother Tyrese, and her little sister Sydney. Their parents, Charlene and Sherwin Seathal, ran a tight ship. And when I say tight, I mean these kids were not going anywhere. No sleepovers, no hanging out at friends' houses. The Seathal household was a contained universe, and the kids had to entertain themselves. They climbed the massive tree in their backyard, invented superhero games, put on shows for each other, and made up dances in the living room. It sounds like a movie, and honestly, it kind of was. The house was always full of music. Charlene and Sherwin played everything from Aaliyah to Michael Jackson to Boys II, Men to Rihanna, local South African artists too, like Mikasa and Freshly Ground. Tyla soaked it all in. She was the kid who made up songs for Mother's Day and Father's Day, the kid who told every single adult who asked that she wanted to be a singer when she grew up. Her heritage is as layered as her sound. Tyla is of Zulu, Irish, Mauritian, and Indian descent. In South Africa, she identifies as colored, which is a recognized racial classification for people of mixed heritage. We will get into why that became a whole situation later. But for now, just know that Tyla grew up in a household that celebrated every part of who she was. By the time she was a teenager, she was posting covers of Beyoncé and Justin Bieber on Instagram, teaching herself how to write songs, and dreaming about a life far beyond Edenvale. But her parents were practical people. Music is risky. Nobody in their family had made it as a musician. So when it came time to choose a path after high school, Tyla briefly considered studying mining engineering. Mining engineering. Can you imagine? The girl who would go on to create a global dance craze almost spent her 20s underground in a hard hat. Thankfully, she talked her parents into letting her take a gap year. There were tears. There was persuasion. But eventually, Charlene and Sherwin agreed. 1 year to make something happen with music. That is all she got. In 2019, right at the tail end of high school, Tyla connected with a manager named Garth Von Glen, who had discovered her through Instagram. He set up her first real recording sessions, and she started working with a producer called Cool Drink. Together, they recorded a bunch of tracks in different styles, searching for the sound that felt right. And then they landed on it. Getting Late dropped in late 2019, and it was unlike anything else coming out of South Africa at the time. It blended pop and R&B with the shakers, log drums, and soulful piano melodies of Amapiano, the South African dance genre that was dominating the local scene. Tyla was not just making Amapiano, though. She was filtering it through a pop lens, creating something she would eventually call popiano. The music video did not come together until January 2021. Garth, her manager, directed and shot the whole thing himself, filming intermittently during COVID lockdowns. The budget was basically zero. The crew was Tyla, her best friend who styled it, the choreographer, and Cool Drink. That was it. And then it hit TikTok. The Getting Late challenge took off in South Africa and started spreading internationally. Millions of views, millions of likes, all from a video shot by her manager during a pandemic. It was the kind of organic grassroots virality that money cannot buy. Off the back of that buzz, Tyla signed a recording deal with Epic Records through a joint venture with Fax Records in May 2021. She was 19 years old. The gap year had turned into something real. For the next couple of years, Tyla released singles like Overdue and Too Last, building her catalog and refining her sound. In 2023, she made her first public performance at the Dolce & Gabbana afterparty during Milan Fashion Week. Then she joined Chris Brown as the opening act on his Under the Influence tour, learning the craft of performing night after night in front of massive crowds. But nobody was prepared for what came next. In July 2023, Tyla released Water. The song was built on an Amapiano foundation, but laced with pop melodies, R&B grooves, and Afrobeats textures. It was catchy, sensual, and impossible to ignore. And then she and her choreographer posted a video of the Bacardi-inspired dance on TikTok. The internet lost its mind. The dance challenge racked up over 9 billion views on TikTok. 9 billion. People everywhere were pouring water over themselves, swaying their hips, trying to replicate the moves. Water climbed into the top 10 in South Africa, the United States, the United Kingdom, and several other countries. It peaked at number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100. To put that in perspective, the last South African solo artist to appear on the Hot 100 was Hugh Masekela with Grazing in the Grass in 1968. Tyla did not just break a record. She shattered a 55-year drought. She performed Water on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. She was suddenly everywhere, being written about by Rolling Stone, Billboard, Cosmopolitan, Vogue. The girl from Edenvale was standing in rooms that most people only see on television. In February 2024, the Recording Academy introduced a brand new category at the Grammy Awards, Best African Music Performance. It was a historic moment in itself, an acknowledgement that African music had become too significant to ignore on the world's biggest music stage. Tyla won the inaugural award for Water. She was 22 years old, the youngest African artist in history to win a Grammy. She stood at that podium and represented not just herself, not just South Africa, but an entire continent that had been making incredible music for decades without getting this level of recognition. Her self-titled debut album dropped in March 2024. It featured collaborations with Guna, Thames, and Becky G, and debuted at number 24 on the Billboard 200. Critics loved it. The blend of Amapiano, pop, R&B, and Afrobeats felt fresh and distinctly hers. Publications were calling her the Queen of Popiano, and the title stuck. But fame at this level does not come without fire. And for Tyla, the fire came from an unexpected place, her own identity. Back in 2020, before she was internationally famous, Tyla had posted a TikTok where she proudly described herself as a colored South African while wearing Bantu knots and celebrating Heritage Day. In South Africa, colored is a recognized racial classification for people of mixed heritage. It is not a slur. It is an official identity with deep cultural roots, tied to communities that were formally classified during the apartheid era. Tyla's heritage includes Zulu, Irish, Mauritian, and Indian ancestry, and in South Africa, that makes her colored. But when that TikTok resurfaced in 2023 during her rise to fame, American audiences reacted very differently. In the United States, colored is a loaded term tied to the Jim Crow era, to segregation, to a painful history of dehumanization. Some Black Americans accused Tyla of distancing herself from Blackness. Others said she was being disrespectful by using that word on a public platform. The situation escalated in June 2024 when Tyla appeared on The Breakfast Club. When host Charlemagne the God asked her about the identity debate, a voice off screen, reportedly a member of her team, shut the question down. The moment went viral. People took it as Tyla refusing to claim her Black identity, and the backlash intensified. Tyla responded on Instagram stories with a message that laid it all out. She wrote that she had never denied her Blackness. She explained that she is mixed with Black, Zulu, Irish, Mauritian, Indian, and colored heritage, and that in South Africa she would be classified as a colored woman, while in other places she would be classified as a Black woman. Race, she said, is classified differently in different parts of the world. She later told Variety that the whole experience shook her. She said that when who you are is challenged, especially when it is all you have ever known, it shakes you. But she also made it clear that she was done letting other people define her. She knows who she is. She is both a colored woman and a Black woman. And the people who care to learn, they understand now. It was a messy, painful chapter, but Tyla handled it with more grace than most people twice her age could manage. And the conversation it sparked about how racial identity works differently around the world was actually important, even if it came at her expense. The identity controversy was not the only obstacle. In early 2024, Tyla had to postpone the European leg of her debut tour and cancel the North American dates entirely due to an injury she had been dealing with. For an artist whose entire brand is built around movement and dance, that was devastating. There was also the pressure of being the first to win that Grammy, the first South African soloist on the Hot 100 in decades. Every move she made was being watched, analyzed, and judged through the lens of what it meant for African music as a whole. That is an enormous amount of weight for a 22-year-old. And then there was the genre debate. At the 2024 MTV Video Music Awards, Tyla won Best Afrobeats Video for Water. In her acceptance speech, she clarified that she considers herself an Amapiano artist, not an Afrobeats artist. Some people appreciated the distinction. Others felt she was being ungrateful or splitting hairs. It was yet another moment where Tyla was forced to explain herself in front of the whole world. But here is the thing about Tyla. She does not stay down. In 2025, she came back swinging. She performed at Coachella, debuting her single Bliss on stage. She released her mixtape WWP, short for We Wanna Party, which gave fans tracks like Is It?, Mr. Media, and Dynamite featuring Wizkid. She launched the We Wanna Party tour, starting in Tokyo and hitting cities across the globe. She hosted the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. She walked the Met Gala carpet. She became a Pandora brand ambassador. And then came February 2026 at the 68th Annual Grammy Awards in Los Angeles. Just days after her 24th birthday, Tyla won her second Grammy for Best African Music Performance, this time for Push to Start. She beat out Burna Boy, Davido, Ayra Starr with Wizkid, and Eddie Kenzo. She became the first artist to win in that category twice. Backstage, she was beaming. She told reporters she was proud to be African, proud of where she comes from, and excited to see more African artists on that stage. She also dropped a major announcement. Her sophomore album, titled A-Pop, would be coming in the summer of 2026. She described it as a new chapter, a more mature sound, reflecting who she is now at 24. So, what does Tyla actually represent? Why does her story matter beyond the catchy songs and the TikTok dances? Because Tyla is doing for South Africa and for Africa what Rihanna did for Barbados. She is proving that you do not have to come from New York or Los Angeles or London to become a global pop star. You can come from Edenvale, from a suburb most of the world has never heard of, and still reshape what pop music sounds like. She took Amapiano, a genre that was thriving locally but barely known internationally, and she made it a global conversation. She coined popiano and made the world listen. She did it without abandoning her roots, without watering down her sound, without pretending to be something she is not. And she did it while navigating identity debates, injuries, canceled tours, genre arguments, and the relentless pressure of being the first. At 24, she has 2 Grammys, a debut album that went global, a sophomore album on the way, and the kind of cultural influence that most artists spend entire careers chasing. Tyla once said that she wants to be the biggest pop star, not just the biggest African pop star. And honestly, looking at the trajectory, that does not seem like a stretch anymore. So here's the question we want you to debate. Is Tyla already the biggest musical export Africa has ever produced? Or is she still climbing toward that title? Think about Miriam Makeba, Hugh Masekela, Burna Boy, Wizkid, and everyone in between. Where does Tyla fit in that conversation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. And if you are new here, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We bring you the stories they do not want you to know. Hit that bell so you never miss one.